Why have we come to earth? Do you remember? Why have we taken birth? Do you remember?
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, choir. Yeah. You know, sometimes things look just kind of so easy and flowy on the surface, right? What you don't know about that is, first of all, that's a tough song to do, right? Yeah, a lot of words real fast. I asked them to learn that at the very beginning of the year for our very first service in the new year, because that was kind of our theme for the year. And so I'm happy that we're hearing it once again as we come into the autumn and the harvest time. But prior to that, we had a worker here this week who apparently disrupted a few things. And so the entire sound team plus Chris was scrambling just to try and get any music at all to happen, and all this process and stuff. And so there was this mad scramble and process. You might have heard the foghorn. Also, that's one of our air conditioning fans apparently is loose, and so we thought it was this one, but we tried. When that one shut off, it seemed to cure the foghorn. If the foghorn comes back, just take it as a moment to pay attention, like any foghorn does, right? Pay attention, pay attention. So I just want to acknowledge all that went into that to bring that off so smoothly and so well. So thank you. And that flows into our subject today. Our subject today is called Piercing the Veil. And to pierce the veil, we have to do our work, right? And we have to do it. The time to do your spiritual practice is not when you're having your face be slammed with whatever's in your life, right? The time to do it is ahead of time. You know, if you're a good football team, like say the Green Bay Packers, am I on dangerous territory here? No, if you're a good football team, you practice. You know, I remember Brett Favre said, I play on Sundays for free because I love to play football. They pay me to show up at practice. That's what my big salary is for, is that I will show up and practice. And so it's that practice that brings us to the point of being able to when we need to be at that point of spiritual consciousness to deal with whatever's in front of us. Okay? So I want to invite you, as we're doing this talk today, and it's just as you're living your life, to work with that consciousness of practice, and practice beforehand, before the deep thing comes into your life, right? So today and this month we're going to take a look at sort of the last 4 chapters of Emma Curtis Hopkins' Scientific Christian Mental Practice. I think this might be the only one left. Diana just left the room, so she doesn't know. But anyways, they're available in the bookstore for sale, including this one right after the service. You cannot have it now, okay? So we're talking about, the subject today is called Piercing the Veil. And I want to start off with a quote from a poet named Leonard Jacobson, who says, somewhere in here there are quotes, who says that if you are to know God, you will have to give up your belief in God. If you are to know God, there's a difference between a knowing and a belief. God is bigger than any belief we have about it, because God's infinite, right? And any belief we have about God is too small. Even if we say it's infinite, it's too small. Can you conceive of infinite? I mean, can you really conceive of infinite? Okay? I can't. I can conceive of pretty big, but I can't conceive of infinite. It's beyond our ability. So we have to give up our belief of what we believe we know about God. So the lesson is, be not deceived. And what she says is the deceiver is our appearances and our interpretation of those appearances. What looks like the stuff happening out here is deceptive. Have you noticed? It moves us off of our spiritual centeredness and our knowing of the truth if we let it, if we interpret it that way. Spirit does not deceive. Spirit itself does not deceive. Spirit is the ultimate truth, the capital T truth. And because God is all there is, greater than any idea we have of it, and we are spirit. Emma puts it this way: if all is spirit, then I am spirit. If all is spirit, then I am spirit. If spirit cannot be in poverty, I cannot be in poverty. If spirit cannot be burdened, I cannot be burdened. And if spirit cannot be sick, I cannot be sick. All these things are nothing to spirit. Therefore, they are nothing to me. I am not deceived by any of them. As a friend of mine used to say, one of my teachers used to say, if it ain't true of God, it ain't true of me. Breathe that in for a moment. If it ain't true of God, if it's not true of God, is God sick? Ever? Nope. God broke? Nope. In poverty, unloved, not creative, having a blah day. Does God ever have a bad hair day? I don't think so. No. And so therefore it's not true of me. Now I may have the experience of it, I may have the appearance of it, but appearances are effect. We talk about cause and effect. Appearances, that which shows up out here, is showing up at the level of effect as a result of a cause. And the cause oftentimes lives within us, with our own unconscious mind oftentimes, until it shows up out here for us to experience. Now, saying this stuff, these are strong words, right? Okay? That there's only truth, that the appearances are nothing. This is Emma. And you may notice, if you're like me, a part of your mind wants to argue with you. And wants to say, yeah, but what about such and such? There's always a such and such, isn't there? And a so-and-so. Some of us have a lot of so-and-sos in our lives, right? But there's always a such and such. This past week we had a big such and such. But if it wasn't for that one, the week before there would have been something, the next week there'll be something else. The world and the media likes to spin it up for us, keeps us focused on the appearances of duality, the appearances of evil, the appearances of not truth of spirit. Have you noticed? Okay? We have a work to do. And this is why I invite you to be in spiritual practice. And that work is to pierce that veil. The work is not to be fooled by what it looks like is happening out here. Now, is that real? On one level, yes. The appearances are real. But are they the ultimate truth? Are they the ultimate truth? The answer is no. Yesterday, this past weekend, we had a men's retreat here. This altar is a gift from the men. We used it during the men's retreat, and they wanted to bring that energy into the congregation, into the service today, and bless everyone here with all that transpired, all the good and all the deepening in that beautiful masculine energy that transpired. During the men's retreat, I took a little break and walked the labyrinth out there. And I had this awareness of the labyrinth, this realization of the labyrinth, that the labyrinth is an illusion. It's 9 slabs of concrete formed into a circle with some lines painted on it, right? Now, I can tell you, because I've done it, that you don't have to follow in the lines. You can just walk straight across that thing, and no bolts of lightning will strike you dead. I've done it. More than once. When the painting on there, the idea of the labyrinth on that slab, is the way our appearances are. We agree that that's a labyrinth, and if we walk this particular path, we'll have an experience, or we'll be open to an experience. We agree to walk between the lines of that, but it's not the truth, because you can just walk straight across that, can't you? You're free of that. Those lines don't hold you, imprison you in any way, right? Okay? However, watch this. If we agree to play with the appearances, if we agree to go onto that labyrinth and walk this path, walk this process, let the process work with us, we oftentimes come to a deep spiritual understanding, a deeper spiritual understanding. Okay? So appearances aren't just to be rejected and say, oh, that's not true. Appearances are to be seen through and perceived as a gateway, as a labyrinth into a deeper spiritual experience for each of us. What is this appearance to teach me? How can I learn from it? How can I see spirit in it? How can I pierce the veil of my own judgments about it? This is good, this is bad. That's our veil. It's ultimately this is either good or this is evil. That's our kind of bottom line choice, our bottom line appearance, our bottom line judgment that we make about it. Can I pierce those? Can I walk through this appearance, and can I get to the sacred within it? That's what our appearances are here for. They're actually our sacred friends. The Dalai Lama, remember, has friends, and then he has sacred friends. The Chinese government is his sacred friends. We all have sacred friends, don't we? Anybody besides me? I have a few. You know who you are. No, I'm just kidding. Not in this room. We all have sacred friends. What if it was that all these sacred friends and all these circumstances were here to say, wake up to the truth? What if they were our real, deep, sacred friends, saying, wake up to something deeper than you've ever known before about yourself and about this universe? What if we had to walk the labyrinth? Because we all chose to suit up in this physical, meat sack, right? And to play. Okay? We could be just pure spirit. A lot of us have this idea that being pure spirit would be so much fun, so much more easy. And probably in some ways it would be. Okay? No sickness, no death, no poverty, no all that stuff, right? We could just be pure spirit. But we all chose, for whatever reason, to show up in two-dimensional reality or three-dimensional reality in this duality of life, to play in this game, to walk this labyrinth. And the question is, can we walk it with consciousness, or do we forget that we're walking a labyrinth that we can step out of any time and get refreshed, get renewed, and then come back into it and play more deeply, more fully? Okay? So that's the trick, that's the game. Can you do your spiritual practice to where you perceive the truth and know the truth? And this is what Emma says, is stand in that truth. Stand in that truth. You don't have to make the truth happen. See, truth is already happening. God is all there is. We were working with some of the young people, the young adults last Sunday, and we were starting off a spiritual mind treatment with, I know that God is all there is, I believe that God is all there is, all that stuff. There are days that I don't know that God is all there is. There are days I don't believe God is all there is. Not so much anymore, but there were days in my life, okay, when I did not believe that. And yet still, God was all there is, right? God was still all there was, all there ever is. Whether I know it, whether I believe it, whether I feel like it or not. Okay? Whether I feel like it's a beautiful sunny day or I'm going through a really dark period of my life and don't care about it, the sun is still shining. It's just there. Okay? So the truth is that God, this infinite love, this infinite beauty, this infinite health, wealth, joy, bliss, is and is all there is, ultimately. And all this stuff dances around out of that process. We forget it and we play games and we go do stupid stuff. Anybody besides me ever go do stupid stuff because I forgot that? Yeah, okay. And so some of us do more stupid stuff than others, okay? We go out and blow a bunch of people away, or we do, whatever, okay? But it's still, we all do stupid stuff. It's just a matter of degree. And yet still, behind all of that, God is all there is. The infinite love, the infinite joy, the infinite bliss is all there is. And so we stand in that. We simply stand in that truth, and that is all we have to do is know that truth. That's all we have to do is remember that truth and stand in the knowing of it. We don't have to make truth work. If I turn on the light switch, I don't have to then make the electricity work somehow. How do you make electricity work? I don't know. But I do know how to flip on the light switch, to let it flow. Do I let that truth flow in my life as I'm looking at the world? And so I have the duality and the dance. And this is what we do as metaphysicians. This is what we do as spiritual people. We have this simultaneous dance of knowing spiritual truth, all is whole, perfect, and complete, At the same time, being in and playing in the dance of illusion. And playing our best, by the way. This is not a la la la, okay? We come in from that consciousness of the highest and greatest and best we know, and then step into it from that consciousness. See, most people are coming from the consciousness of fear and hurt and anger and all this other stuff. If we can stand in love, and love is the secret, love is the pathway, love is the process. If we can stand in that love and enter into that dynamic from love, we create something different, don't we? Love creates something different than fear. Love creates something different than pretending that I don't know this is going on. And going, la, 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 I got mine, I don't care about anybody else. Okay? So we stand in that love, we stand in that truth, and we allow it to move through us. Emma tells us that as imaginations arise, let them alone. As imaginations, this is the stuff of our mind, arise, let them alone. The simple knowledge that they are imaginations is sufficient to make them null and void. Imaginations deal with evil, matter, death, sickness, poverty, old age, pain, failure, and other burdens and bondages of the race. Truth does not deal with them, it leaves them alone. Okay? Leonard Jacobson has a wonderful sort of poem story. It goes like this. A man was searching for that which cannot be found. Isn't that a great line? A man was searching for that which cannot be found. How many of you have searched for that which cannot be found? When suddenly he arrived at the gates of hell, he was about to enter when he was stopped by an old magician. You have no weapons, said the magician. Take this sword. It will protect you from the evil forces that lie within. I do not believe in evil forces, said the man, so I have no need of weapons. The magician said, only a warrior can enter the gates of hell, and slowly drew his sword from its scabbard. As he did so, a terrible demon appeared before him, and he said, behold the power of the sword. And with one swift blow, he killed the demon. Now will you take the sword, he asked. The man shook his head. Are you blind, said the magician? Can you not see that with this sword the demon was slain? The man replied, are you blind? Can you not see that with this sword the demon was created? And he walked past the magician through the gates of hell, as if they existed only as an illusion in the minds of men. In the old Star Trek shows, they had every once in a while they get into something where they get caught up in some field that they were trying to get out of, and the usual original method of getting out of it was to blast away at it with their phasers, right? And every once in a while they get into something, they found out that the more they blasted, the more powerful it became. Okay? We've all been in stuff in our lives where the more we blast, the more powerful the stuff we're blasting at becomes. Anybody besides me? Okay? The more powerful it becomes. The solution is to not give it form, to not give it the power. We're trained to live from our intellect. We're trained to problem solve. And if you're a problem solver, guess what the world looks like? A bunch of problems to be solved. You know, it's the old, you know, if the only tool you have is a hammer, the whole world looks like a nail. Okay? So if I believe in problem solving, and if I'm a great problem solver, then I'm looking for problems to solve, and that is all I see. What I don't see is the bliss. What I don't see is the perfection of life. What I don't see is that there's nothing to be solved. On the spiritual level, there is nothing to be solved. When we see the world as whole, perfect, and complete, as an expression of wholeness, that is then what we begin to experience more and more and more in our lives. I can attest to this because I have seen the world as problems to be solved. I've spent a lot of time trying to solve problems in my life. And when I finally turned to Spirit and said, Spirit is all there is only one life. There is only God. God is all there is, and started to focus on that. Emmett Fox tells us that any problem can be solved by simply focusing on God. Now, that's not what we were taught in school, was it? We were taught in school to be good problem solvers, weren't we? Most of us. Okay? He says we focus on God to resolve any problem. Why is that? Because God is what we're ultimately going for. God is the good. God is the love. God is the wealth. God is the health. God is the creativity. God is all that stuff that we want. God is all that stuff that we're reaching for. God is the solution to all the problems. So we have to stand in that truth. And the practice, again, is love. To love is to see God in all. When we love any circumstances, see, Emma points out the fact that if everything is God, we're doing one of two things. We're either blessing or cursing it, but it's all God. How powerful is it to curse God? Do you really want to? Okay? It doesn't work. We get less and less of God in our lives when we start doing that. A curse is basically a separation. It's a pushing away. It's a I don't want this. Okay? How powerful is that? It's more powerful to bless and love into our lives what it is that we want. Contemplate the aspects of God you choose to experience. If you're going through a condition, if you're going through an appearance that looks like something, what is the opposite of that? What is it that you truly want to experience instead? If I'm going through poverty, I want to experience wealth. If I'm going through sickness, I want to experience health. If I'm going through feeling unlovable, I want to feel loved and know that I'm loved. Okay? I love, it's kind of like the fish looking for water. We walk around looking for love in all of its forms, and all the forms are love. Money is love in form, right? Our healthy body, our cells of our body are love in form. Our body is light and love. That's all we are, is light and love. Okay? Everything in our life is love. If I bring more love into it, it heals everything in the process. Ernest Holmes tells us that the divine plan is freedom. Bondage is not God ordained. You are designed to be free. And by the way, that's on the very first page of the Science Mind textbook. I think it's kind of important, right? First page. Freedom is the divine plan. Bondage is not God ordained. Look at somebody around you and say, you are free. Look at somebody and say it out loud. And then let them say it to you. The divine plan is for your freedom. You ever want to know what God has in plan? We spend a lot of time going, oh, what's God's plan for my life, man? Freedom. Period. You get to make up the rest. Yes. It's freedom. So contemplate the experience of freedom in that area of your life. There's an affirmation that Emma gives us. It's a powerful affirmation. If you like it, the ushers will have it on the way out the door if you like this. I have not been deceived into seeing evil in anyone or anything. I see good in all things and all people, always without delusion. Whoa! I see good in all people and all things, always without delusion. I never accuse anyone or anything of seeming imperfection in any way. I never accuse myself of seeming imperfection or of hiding imperfections. All is the light of truth. How's that for a rock your world affirmation? I never accuse anyone of seeming imperfections. Wait a minute, Reverend David, I got a list here. I never accuse myself of imperfections. I got a bigger list, Reverend David. Okay? How would it be if we never accused anyone else of imperfection or ourselves of imperfection ever again in our lives? Take a breath. For most of us, we can't even conceive that, right? It's really challenging. So maybe take a few people and stop accusing them at a time. Narrow it down a little bit. Taper it down a little bit. What if I was to look at every single person and say, you are my friend or you are my sacred friend? You are here for my joy, my bliss, and my enlightenment, and you're either leading me there directly or you're helping me to wake up and remember it. I used to have a practitioner friend of mine. We all like, when we meditate, we like either pure silence or some beautiful quiet music, right? He would meditate to AC/DC on his headphones at full volume. Okay? And he would do it because the music was so loud that it transported him, it shoved him out of whatever he was thinking. He couldn't have other thoughts in his mind. You know, you're sitting there quietly on your meditation pillow, and these thoughts are drifting in, and some of them are more than drifting in. They're stampeding through your mind, you know, leaving droppings on the way. And he's like, this stuff is out of here. I'm playing AC/DC so loud, I can't hear any la 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 from my mind, okay? And so when we keep going, when we keep the volume up on truth, we can't hear anything else. This is why an affirmation like this is so powerful. What if we kept the volume up on our truth? What if we got in line with what it is we truly want in our lives, and nothing but that was in our focus? So that's our homework for this week, our process for this week. I know a couple of you have said you don't like homework, but too bad. You can take this home and work with it or play with it. Number one, notice where you've believed in bondage in your life. If anybody needs any help, notice where you believed in bondage in your life. Health, finances, love, creativity, anything. Where have you been believing in bondage and having it show up? Number two, take one area and start to think about what it is that freedom would look like in that area. Create a clear experiential picture so that you can see it, taste it, feel it, experience it, know it. What is freedom in that area looking like to me? Okay? Get a clear picture of that. And then number three, create a declaration of truth about this area. So you take that image of what it is that freedom looks like, and you write it up as an affirmation, you write it up as a treatment, you write it up as a statement, and you keep it in front of you, and you keep it in front of you to where that is the only radio station broadcasting in your mind. Okay? So truth is what is broadcasting in your mind. Emma says, always keep truth running through your mind, some semblance, something of truth. So, you know, that's the power of a mantra, of a phrase, of something that you can do to keep your mind focused on the direction you want to go. Because there's enough stuff pulling at us to go in the directions we don't want to go. Have you noticed? Okay? So we need to be conscious to pull our minds in the direction we do want to go. So create a statement of truth. So that's the three things we're going to do. We're going to, one, notice where I believed in bondage. Number two, we're going to create a new picture. Take one of those areas and create a new picture. Declare the truth about it. Number three, write that up and keep it in front of me. Are you with me on doing that this week? That will transform your life if you do it. What you're dealing with when you're dealing with this is cause. And we always want to be dealing with cause. You know, I think I've used the metaphor before of a cinema and the old mining camps when the still movies first came out, and the miners and the cowboys, when the ranchers would all come in to watch the cinema, and the bad guy was tying the heroin to the train tracks for the train to come down, and every once in a while some cowboy would get up, pull out his gun, and shoot the movie screen. Shoot the villain on the screen, right? Okay? Most of us, we laugh, and most of us are dealing with our lives that way because we're trying to shoot the appearances. Anybody want to talk about gun control? Gun control becomes irrelevant when we love each other enough that we would never do harm to each other. Okay? I don't have a position, by the way. I'm just saying, beyond. That's what we're being called to, is what's beyond. What's beyond the duality? What's beyond the either-or polarity that most of life wants to try to get us to here? We live in a both-and universe. We live in a both of these and more. Always. Whenever you're stuck, you're always in an either-or situation, and you need to get to a bigger point, a bigger, higher place. As a friend of mine used to say, get a bigger God. Get a bigger perspective. Okay? So that's our homework this week. I'm going to close with a quote from Ernest. A new light is coming into the world. We are on the borderland of a new experience. The veil between spirit and matter is very thin. The invisible passes into visibility through our faith in it. The invisible passes into visibility through our faith in it. A new science, a new religion, and a new philosophy are rapidly being developed. We're part of that. You're part of that. You're part of this new consciousness that's rapidly being developed in this world. This is in line with the evolution of the great presence, and nothing can hinder its progress. The truth will out. The Spirit will make itself known. Nothing is greater than God. Any circumstance you face, any situation, any appearance, nothing is greater than God, than the infinite presence. Let's go within. And so knowing, as big as we can, the vastness of the infinite presence, the vastness of love, the vastness of wholeness, the vastness of wealth, the vastness of health and life energy vibrating through all the universe, the vastness of creativity and wisdom, the vastness of beauty. And then realizing that that's nothing compared to what really is present. When we open up our minds to contemplate that is what that which we call God, Spirit, so many names, it doesn't matter what the name is, that infinite presence that is greater than everything else, that is. And because it is all there is, because it is infinite, we have to be one of that infinite presence. We have to be one of that love, of that life energy, of that wealth, of that good, of that beauty, of that wisdom, of that creativity. We are one of that already. We are that right here, right now. Nothing has ever separated it from us. We have just oftentimes forgotten. And so I speak my word today that we wake up, that we remember the truth and the power and the beauty and the grace and the glory of who we truly are. We are God in form. And we can look through and see past the circumstances and see the divine. We see the appearances, but we see greater than the appearances, and we see the wholeness and the resolution and the love that vibrates through and dissolves the pain from those experiences, the pain from those appearances, and dissolves them and resolves them into love. Because love is all there is. That infinite presence of love is all there is. And so we stand in knowing of that truth, knowing that just simply our knowing that shifts our lives, shifts this world. And so I know that this week each of us stands in that more powerfully than ever before. That when appearances come up, we look at that and say, thank you, my friend. I now remember love. I now walk the labyrinth of spirit into that circumstance and see the truth shining in the center of it, radiating in the center of it, and act from that truth. Respond from that truth. And for this I'm grateful, for each of us who says yes to this, for each of us who practices this, who enacts this, who brings this into our lives, who brings this into the world, who brings this into the field of circumstances. I am ever so grateful, because as each of us does this, we bless the world, we benefit the world, our own lives, and way beyond. And so we let it be. I release this word into a law that moves into form and expression and experience right here in our lives, right now. And it does so by its own power, by its own nature. So it does. And join me in saying, and so it is. Thank you.
To love, serve.